workshop. My name is Mouaz Ahmed. I'm a fellow at College of Graduate Studies, and today I have my colleague Abdulrahman Atef from College of Science, who will be presenting this workshop. Before we start, I would like to announce that anyone who's using their hair or their personal account, please, can you use the university account with logging in the Zoom meeting, because it will be used for the attendance purposes. Also, I would like to ask each one to write their student ID for also the attendance purposes. Okay? Rahman, can you hear me?
Good morning, Mouaz. Good morning, everyone. I hope my voice is clear. All
Yeah,
good?
crystal clear.
Perfect. So, good morning, everyone. My name is Abdulrahman, and this is the Thesis Dissertation Formatting Workshop. I think everyone is hearing me clearly and ready to start.
Yeah, you
So,
can start.
yeah. Okay, so generally, I think of the thesis dissertation formatting workshop as a journey, and today I thought of taking you through the journey from the start of maybe choosing your template until you get your clearance and exit clearance and certificate. So first, of course, you would choose your template, and then the main aim of this workshop is to how to format your dissertation and your thesis before going to maybe submitting it to your supervisor and doing the defense, then going to CGS for the formatting review, and then, at the printing office, and finally at the exit clearance and the certificate. So I'm going to take you through all this journey with, of course, the main focus on the formatting of your dissertation. So the first question that comes up onto your mind is, which template do I choose? Obviously, at the College of Graduate Studies, we have several templates. For the master template, we have both in Arabic and in English, the first one and the second one. Same for the doctoral dissertation, which we usually call the monograph template. We have number 3 and number 4, both in Arabic and in English. And a little bit special templates, which are number 5 and 6, the doctorate article-based dissertation, which I will talk about in few seconds, and the dual degree programs, which we are still starting out to have templates for. So what is the difference between the basic monograph and the article-based dissertation in terms of the PhD students? Well, the monograph is a general template that usually has the introduction, the methods, results, discussions, and finally the conclusion, just like any other thesis that you have might written before during your master's. But for the article-based, it's a little bit different. It also starts with an introduction, but it has a general discussion of maybe overview of the main findings, the impact of the research, a summary of all the articles that you're going to attach at the end, followed by a conclusion and then your article. So the main aim of this template is to help the students to maybe publish more and use their publications in the template that of their dissertation. Of course, I'm going to talk about few of the criteria that you might need to have for the article-based dissertation, because I know a lot of you might be wondering, am I eligible for this template or not? So to be eligible, you need to have minimum of 3 original articles, 2 published already, and maybe 1 submitted and accepted. This is the minimum. Of course, you can have more. Obviously, cannot have any review articles for the article-based dissertation. All the articles, as I said, must address one problem, so you can tackle an issue that maybe all the articles revolve around. If you have other articles that maybe tackle other issues, you might put them in the list of applications, but not in the article-based dissertation. Obviously, you must have a significant contribution for the work, so you must be the first author. Or if you are the second author, you need to have special permission from the dean and your supervisor, obviously. You must have a secure written permission from the journal that you published in. And obviously, having an article-based dissertation does not mean that you're not going to defend, because having your article published already, it doesn't mean that you already passed your defense or got your PhD degree. So again, you have to defend the normal way that any student does. So now the next question is, where do I get the template? I think most of you are familiar with this page. I hope that you are. Just in case you are not, I'm going to stop sharing my screen now and just go to the website and show you where you can go to this page and download the templates. Okay, so I think you can see my screen now.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the UAE portal, and it has, of course, all the different options that you can choose. The one that we are interested in is the College of Graduate Studies portal. So you can go to the colleges, and then finally, the last one, the College of Graduate Studies. Once you go there, you will find on the top left all the options that you can choose. Although we are interested in the template, we are also interested in the ZGS calendar, where we have the deadlines on all the important dates. But to get the templates, you need to go to the student from this option. And then you will have all the files that I'm going to talk about today, whether it's maybe a form, a special form, or the thesis dissertation template, or the preparation guidelines, and so on. So specifically to get the template, you need to click on this one. And as you can see, it was written that it was effective 2022, which means that even though you might be using an old CGS template before 2022, unfortunately, that will not be accepted anymore. Because I know some of the students maybe tend to use templates, but old ones. So please make sure that if you are defending in this period of time, you need to use the most updated ones. These are the templates that I talked about earlier, and I have downloaded most of them, which we will have a walkthrough in few minutes. And obviously now we have cover pages for the master thesis and doctorate dissertations on different colleges, obviously. So you can go to your college, choose the front and the cover page, and also submit it with the thesis. So this is where you can get the templates. I'll go back to the presentation. Please, if you have anything that you need to ask, you can type in the chat if you're not following up, so I can repeat any point that you might need to be repeated, okay?
So Abdulrahman, there's someone, Fatima Bush, who's asking if you can repeat how to find the template quickly.
Okay, sure. So you need to, let me just from the start. So this is our UAEU website, okay? And then you need to go to your UAEU portal, okay? And then once you go to the UAEU portal, you will find the colleges. Go to the College of Graduate Studies. And on the left here, you will find the calendar, the forms and guidelines, announcements, etc. So you go to the student, and then you will find the template, effective 2022, and also some of the forms that we are going to talk about. So this is a very important page because this is where you will get the most up-to-date templates. So going back. Okay, so now since we have answered where to get the templates, we are going to go to our main aim, which is formatting your dissertation. Before we jump into our templates to give some of the advices, these are some general advices. Obviously, the most important one is using the template. Although we stress on this point so many times, we still do get a lot of theses that are totally off the template or maybe using an old template. So please make sure that you follow the first step that we have talked about earlier. We also have preparation guidelines in the CGS portal that I just showed you. So this is basically just all the information that I'm going to say today or talk about today, but in a written form. Some students do like to read in details. So you can go also to the CGS portal and download the guidelines. The checklist, this is something that we have actually added to our CGS portal that helps the students to maybe follow up a summarized version of all the important things that they have to make sure that is done or formatted before they submit their thesis. And I'm going to show you in details. And obviously, you have to attend several workshops like the one that we are giving today, or anything that we are going to give in the future. We are planning to make it more frequent for the students. And we highly advise you to attend these workshops. And obviously, you can also seek help at our offices or at the Student Hub at any time. So these are the guidelines. As I told you, this is how it looks. It has all the details written out, the font size, all the details that you need to follow up. But if you use the template, most of these details will be already figured out for you. So you don't have to go manually and change the font size, or maybe make a heading bold or italic or underline, because these things will be already made for you. And we will look at them in a few minutes. This is the checklist. As you can see, it's a 2-page document that you can just go through each and every point, check what is done, and maybe ask about what's not done or what you might have a doubt in. This covers all the sections of the thesis, and now it's a requirement for the student to submit it with their own thesis, obviously with their signature and date. These are the workshops. So this workshop and many others are always recorded and added on our YouTube channel. So you can also go back if you want to maybe follow up on a point, or maybe repeat a point, follow a step-by-step how to maybe add a table or add a figure, add an automatic caption, etc. So you can always go to the CGS UAEU. You might want to note this down. These are some of the old workshops that we have given, and also hopefully this will be uploaded very soon on the workshop. This is our offices. So these are the working hours and the exact location of the offices. This is a beautiful picture of the Student Hub. So you can always go there and ask specific questions on your own thesis and dissertation. Okay, so before we jump on the following processes, now we will just look at some of the advices on the formatting. And for that, I would stop sharing the screen again and go to our templates that I just show you in the beginning of the presentation. I'm sorry, I keep jumping between the share screens, but there is no other option. I hope that's fine. So let me start with sharing the template. I hope the template is visible on the screen. So why did I choose the master template to start with, the normal master template? Because most of the templates are exactly the same with few modifications. So we're going to talk about this one, and then we will going to tell you what are the differences in the other templates. Feel free to maybe add a comment or just stop me if you are not following up at any point. I will also tend to stop after each maybe few sections, so to take your questions or any queries. So this is the page that usually comes after the cover page. This has the name of the university, the name of the college, and the department. Also followed by your thesis title in upper cases. So as you can see, we have kept some notes in red here for the students to follow up. So please make sure that you delete these notes when adding your thesis titles. And please make sure that to follow up the exact same spacing. So I know that some of the students tend to maybe change the spacings or the font size while using their templates. So please be careful with that. You just have to delete what's written here and just rewrite your own. A very important point here, or an advice, is to use the official degree title from the CGS portal that I just showed you earlier in the presentation, because some of the students actually tend to write wrong names for their title. For example, Master Degree of Medical Science or College of Sciences. So please take care, because we need to have the exact same official degree title. And also please to try to be updated. Sometimes the degree title name changes from time to time, so you have to be careful about that. Here you have to add your defense month and year only without the dates. No need to mention your supervisor name here. So these are just some of the general advices that you need to take care of. This is the copyright page. For this part, this is where we add the thesis number and the dissertation number. So this is for the CGS to fill out. You just keep it as it is. And here, this is just a small note on the figure that you're going to add on your cover page, which I'll show you after we are done. And of course, you have to add the source of the image because sometimes you take the photo yourself, but sometimes you take it from an online source. So you have to be careful about that. And this part is the copyright. Please, if you are maybe defending in 2024, you need to change these dates. You need to change the name. But other than that, you have to keep it as it is. Declaration of original work. This is a very important page where you are saying that this is your original work. You haven't submitted it anywhere else. And you declare that there is no potential conflict of interest. So this part is very well written by CGS. We highly advise the students not to change the wordings. Unfortunately, some of the students do change the wordings here, which is, of course, not accepted. For your supervisor, you either have to choose doctor if the supervisor is an assistant or an associate professor, or if he or she is a full professor, then you have to remove this part. Obviously, you need to change the college name in this part and your name. Please note that your name throughout the thesis must be consistent. So for example, here it's Mariam Hussein Al-Blushi. It has to be exactly the same name throughout. If you're using other names, that will not be accepted. You have to have a signature here with the date. You can either maybe type your name and then you can just choose any freestyle script font, for example, like this one, or you can just sign electronically after the dissertation is maybe changed to PDF in the final steps. But we highly advise not to maybe sign on a piece of paper and scan it and add it on the thesis, because it will really not look professional and also might cause some issues in printing. You can also note that starting from this page, the page numbering is shown, but in the previous ones, it was not shown. So please don't tend to add any other page numbers here, or if by mistake it is added, try to remove it manually. This is the advisory committee page for the master's or the PhD. The student might have an advisory committee, so you need to fill out their names, their official titles, according, of course, to the UAE website, their departments and the college. If you have an external examiner, co-advisor, you can add it. If not, you can remove this part. But for any external co-advisor or even maybe an examiner, you need to write their country, even if it is inside the UAE. So for example, if they are from Ajman University or Sharjah University, you have to also add the United Arab Emirates. So this page, the approval of master, or in the case of PhD, it will be doctorate. It will be just the signatures of your committee. So after you fill out this page, you can do two things. Either submit it to your committee in the Word format and they will add their signature, or some of the committees prefer to sign maybe on a secure document like the PDF where they can add their locked signature. So you can maybe extract this page, get it signed, and then attach it to the thesis at the end. Or after you finalize the formatting of your thesis, you can add their signature on the finalized form. This page is very important because these are the dean's signature. So whether it's the college dean or the dean of the College of Graduate Studies, of course, this doesn't change. This part doesn't change, but here it changes according to your college, and according, of course, the name will change according to the college. So make sure that you are following up with the dean's name. Sometimes the dean changes. Also, please make sure that you are following up if the dean is a full dean or maybe an acting dean. So if it is an acting dean, you have to just add this part. Okay, for the abstract, we have both the abstract in English and followed by the Arabic. And for the Arabic thesis, it will be the opposite. It will be in Arabic and then followed by the English. Here, there are just few advices that I can give you. The first one is, please, an abstract, the aim of the abstract is to have a summary of your work. So we highly recommend you to have a minimum of half page as it's shown here, or maximum, maybe a 1.5 page, but please try not to exceed that. 1 page is ideal for the abstract. And as I said earlier, please try to remove these guidance notes in red so that it doesn't feel odd for the reader. And once you finalize your abstract, you need to get it translated professionally to Arabic. I understand that some of the students might not be Arabic speakers or vice versa. So you can seek help maybe from the writing center, from your supervisor if he or she is an Arabic speaker, maybe from one of your colleagues, but try to not translate it from Google Translate, and also try to get it translated from someone in the field so that they can maybe translate it scientifically, like in a more accurate way. The thesis title here has to be matching with the thesis title that you used earlier in the first page. So please take care of that. And also please take care of the formatting. So if you indented the paragraphs here in Arabic, it has to also be indented in English. And the spacings, for example, and the paragraphs, for example, if you have only one paragraph here, it has to match on the English and so on. So these are some of the important notes in the abstract pages. The author profile, as you can see here, is an optional page. This is where you, like a mini CV of your own, you can write about yourself. And these are some notes that we put for you to maybe know how to structure it. You can also add a photo if you want. You can maybe add your contact information, some awards that you have might won during your studies or outside. So we encourage the students to put that, but if you don't want to do so, you can delete the page. Acknowledgement is where you thank everyone who helped you throughout your journey. So please feel free to write anything, but also try to make it maybe within 1 page, which is something that is highly recommended. Dedication, on the other hand, is just 1 or 2 lines where you dedicate your thesis to someone. So please, obviously, you can extend more than 1 or 2 lines, but again, the highly recommended thing is to only have something short, of course, in the middle of the page and italic. So these things are just personal messages that you want to send to someone. Before I jump into the table of content and the other tables, I would like to maybe stop here if someone has any question in the first part. They might maybe type in the chat.
Okay, that's perfect. Thanks so much, Abdulrahman. If anyone has any question, can you raise your hand? Also, there's one question in here. There's Fatima who's asking, can we add line justify or should we keep it as it is? The option of justifying the font.
The option of justifying the font?
Yeah.
Okay, so the recommended is to have it justified, but if you want to remove the justification, that's fine. But it should be consistent throughout the master thesis or the dissertation. Okay. So we will move on. We will also have some time for the questions at the end if you want. So the table of content is basically a page that contains all your headings. When I say headings, please note that it's not each and every heading in your thesis or dissertation. You have only heading 1, as you can see here, heading 2, and heading 3. More than that, we highly recommend not to add them. Actually, we have structured our table of content in a way that it only detects the first 3 headings, as you can see here. Some important notes. Well, the first thing is to have all your headings updated. So please always make sure to update a field and update the page numbers or the entire table. If you add any new headings, then I will show you how. Please make sure that all your headings are either capitalized each letter, which means that the first letter is capitalized in all the headings, or maybe capitalize the first letter only, but try to be consistent. Okay.
I'm sorry, Abdulrahman. Can you zoom in a little bit? I'm receiving many
Yes, sure.
requests. Yeah.
I think this is better.
Yeah, this is visible.
Okay. So as I said, the capitalization has to be consistent as shown here on the screen. And this also applies to the following list of figures and list of tables. So as you can see, we have all the tables that are there in the document. Please make sure that you are having a semicolon, not a full stop or maybe a space or a different symbol. And this also applies to the list of figures. I'm going to show you how to update these list of figures now. Okay. Okay. So just in case you are not familiar, the first heading here, which has only one number, is usually called heading 1. And if you click on it, you will see the heading 1 here on the top. Once we click on heading 2, you will see that heading 2 is highlighted. And once we go to heading 3, you will see that heading 3 is also highlighted as shown here. So very simple. If you want to add any extra headings, what you can do is just add your heading and just highlight it from the top here. As you can see here, when I added an enter, it automatically got an indentation because that's detecting it as a new paragraph. So what you need to do is maybe use the ruler here just to remove the indentation. And if the ruler is not shown, just let me remove this part, I'm sorry. Yeah. So if the ruler is not shown, what you can do is just go to the view tab up top here and just show the ruler. I highly recommend showing the ruler in your document because it is a very helpful tool. So let's say that I want to add a heading 3, for example. I have 1.3, which is obviously heading 2 as we discussed. So if I want to add an extra heading, what I can do is just manually write 1.13 and just type whatever I want. I need to make sure that the first letter is capitalized, and then I can type whatever I want. So right now, this is just a normal text. So what I need to do is go to the Home tab, just select this one, and make it heading 3. So I'll go to heading 3 and just change it like that. So as you can see, it automatically became italic because this is the default that we set for the headings. And if we go back to the table of content and do right-click, update field, update entire table, that will automatically show here. And if I click on it, it will automatically take me to the page where the heading is. So this is very simple, and this is how you should add any of your headings. It applies to heading 2, heading 3, and so on. Okay, so for the tables and the figures, we will also do the same. Let me just go to an empty page. Yeah. So for example, here, this is figure 2. So let's say that we want to add a new figure. Let me just decrease this a little bit. So let's say I want to add a figure in this page. First of all, I'll just insert picture, maybe from the stock image if we have so. Okay, let's say that we want to insert this picture. So the first thing you noticed here is that I added the picture. I might need to just, resize it a little bit if I want to make it in the middle so that it's consistent with the above figure. And then just I'll press enter and then go to references. Okay. And then insert caption. And then you have the option to choose between figure, equation, and table. In my case, I want to add a figure. As you can see, since I automatically added figure 1 and 2 in the template, figure 3 will automatically come up. So I'll just add my semicolon and just write whatever caption I want and press OK. So it will automatically come here. And again, if we go to maybe, for example, the list of figures and updated, it will show. Sorry, I forgot to update the entire table. So as you can see here, since I added figure 3, it showed here, and automatically figure 3 that was already there became figure 4. So this can show you how flexible this list of figure and adding automatic headings can be. We highly recommend not to add manual headings because if you do so, this will actually, for example, let's say you have like 70 figure captions. This will make some mismatch between the list of figures and inside the text, and it will become very difficult at the end to change. So I'll also give you some advices before we jump onto the tables. So for example, let's say you have a very long caption that maybe says type of cars, and then you have A, blah, 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 B, and C, for example. Let's say this caption is very long, so we don't really recommend to add everything here. What we recommend is only to add the general sentence that describes the figure, and maybe you can just remove this part from the list of figures. This is what we usually recommend, because we know that maybe in some colleges you have a general sentence followed by a very, very long caption. If you add the very long caption in the list of figures or list of table, this will become very crowded. So this is what we usually recommend for any student to do, just a brief sentence that describes what's inside the figure, and then the details can be there. Of course, you can have the figures, the captions, sorry, the list of the captions of the figures and the captions of the table, maybe in a smaller font, a little bit compared to the original font here. So the original font here, as you can see, will be 13. You can have it a little bit smaller for the captions, but please make sure that it is the Times New Roman throughout your dissertation. So these are the general notes for the figures. Very quickly, but I think you might have also caught the trend. If I want to add a table here or insert a table, let's move to maybe a new chapter. Okay. So this is what I was talking about. We only had this part in the list of figures, and this part was not added because it's too much details. So if we go to insert and then maybe insert the table, and then go above this table and just go to references, insert a caption, but this time we will go to table. Automatically it detected table number 4, and then we add our caption and so on. So just a general note for the table. If you want to make all this row is considered, of course, as the table heading. So if you want to make anything bold within the table, we only highly recommend to have the table headings bold, but not what's inside the text. If you wish to highlight maybe one of the results as bold in one of the cells, you can do that. But please try to be consistent throughout. So we highly recommend to maybe have a very consistent format for all the tables throughout. We understand also that some of the tables might maybe be very large, so we don't have it very strict in terms of the font size for the table. You can have from 8 font, which is a little bit small, until the 13. So this is how to structure your tables, how to add your figures automatically, and how to add your headings. With that, you will have all your lists covered, and you will not worry about maybe their page number or what's inside in terms of the caption. If you move anything around at the end, maybe with the advice of your supervisor or CGS, you can just quickly update field and maybe update the page number or the entire table. Moving on to the list of abbreviation, these are maybe the important abbreviations that you have in the thesis or the dissertation. We highly recommend to have it in alphabetical order. So as you can see, this is a hidden table. If I go here and click on this table, all borders, you will see that this is the table. So let's say you want to add a new abbreviation as a student. You can just insert, right-click, insert, and rows above or below, depending on which letter do you want to add in. And once you do that, you can just maybe add PO, for example, and then write what is P and what is O. If you notice here that I made these letters as capital because this is what we recommend you need to have for the abbreviation full form, the first letter capitalized in each word, okay? So before moving on to the structure of the main chapters, I would also give a mini break here if you want to ask any questions or if anything is not clear. Muaz, any question?
Well, most of the questions I've answered them, but there's one question from Alia. She was asking, let me read it for you. Okay. She's asking how to reset the page margins as per the template. If you can show us again.
Page margins?
Yeah.
Okay, this is the beauty of using the template. So actually to check your page margins, you can go to layout, okay, margins. And if you click on custom margins, you can see what is the size of the top, bottom, left, right, and so on. These are the numbers that we recommend. Since I already used the template, it's already set up for me. But I'm sensing that you are maybe using your own file and you want to match it with the template. This is something that we don't really advise, but if you want to do so, these are the numbers that you might need to write in the margins. All of them are 2.3 centimeters, except for the bottom, which is 2.5. So moving on, now after we finish the first part, which has all the Roman numbers here, we start with the chapters where the page numbers start in normal numericals. So here are some notes for you that I'm going to just take you through. First of all, what we recommend is consistency in terms of the format, of course, with a little bit of flexibility. So we talked about indentation. If you have any indentation through your paragraphs, we highly recommend you have it throughout. For the indentation, please add it using the tab button on your keyboard. I believe most of you know where is the tab button. So this will confirm or ensure that you have a consistent indentation or spacing throughout. Because what some students do is just adding, spaces with the space bar. So some of the paragraphs will be like this, and some of the paragraphs will be like this, and so on. So this is inconsistent spacings that is totally not acceptable. One of our friends here asked about the justification. So as we said, this is up to you. The new template does not have it justified, but if you wish to justify your text, you can just go here and justify everything. But please make sure that you have everything throughout consistently justified. A very important thing also is the spacings. Spacings can be of very different kinds. We can have, the line spacing or the spacing above or below. So what I usually recommend is, of course, adding the headings the way I did, but for any reason, if you added your headings and you can see that maybe the spacing is not consistent, you can go to layout and check the space before and after. So as you can see here for heading 1, it's automatically 12 points before, 12 points after. If I go to heading 1, you'll see that maybe it's 0 points before and after. So for example, if I go to this one and maybe change the space after, you will see that the space is getting increased. Obviously, another way of changing the spacing is actually the line spacing. So if I go to home and go to paragraph and change the line spacing, you will also see that the line spacing is getting increased without changing anything in the document. And the last thing of adding the spaces is actually adding enter, right? So right now I'm just clicking enter on the document. These are not visible, right? So to make it visible, you can use this show and hide button from up top. Once you do so, it will show you in blue all the spaces that I have just added. So these are the only 3 ways that you can adjust the spacing throughout the document. And I totally recommend maybe checking each of these if you have any problems with the spacing, and trust me, your problem will be solved. I want to just add a small note here. These are just normal spaces that I just added, but again, a space compared to another space can have a different look. For example, the space is only 8 points different, but if I change the layout here, I didn't add any extra space, but I just, modified the layout and it looks different. So if you have any problems maybe with your paragraphs or your headings, you can just click on the layout and check the space before after, maybe check the line spacing or the enters that you might have added, but you cannot see using the show and hide. So this is a summary of all the spaces. As you can see here, what we usually recommend is consistent spaces between the paragraphs. So for example, between this first paragraph and the second paragraph, the spaces here is 8 points. If you want to make it maybe 6 or 10 or 12, that's fine, but please be consistent. But also try to avoid having too much space. Too much space, like maybe this one, is really not advisable because it will give an odd look to your document. So what I also want to say is about having a bold within the text. I know that maybe some of the student will tend to maybe bold a scientist name, or maybe a name of experiment or a theory or whatever like this. Unfortunately, this is not accepted. The only bold that is accepted in the document is in the tables where I explained earlier. So please avoid having bold within the text. You might have italic for special cases, but other than that, this is not acceptable. Reference is a very important topic that we are going to discuss in details in the next week, how to add your automatic references and how to not face any troubles in this. But just for the sake of this workshop, we can advise you to add automatic references. And if you want to know more about it, you can attend the workshop this time next week. And please make sure that it is all present in the end of the document, because in CGS, we will do a random check through all your references, and we will make sure that all the references are present in the reference list at the end and also within the text. You can use any style you want, but please make sure that it's the most up-to-date. And if you use a style that is not in our guidelines, please make sure that to only have the official documentation so that we can maybe refer to and make sure that you are on the right track. The most two common maybe referencing styles are the APA style and the IEEE. For the APA style, we recommend using the 7th edition, which is the latest one. And of course, this, what we can see on the screen, is the APA. But if you are maybe using another style, it will look a little bit different. Okay. Another very important note is the numbers and the units in your dissertation. So as you can see here, for this example, we have a micrometer, which is separated with the number between the number and the unit having one space. The only two units that does not have space are the degree Celsius and the percentage. Other than that, you have to add a space between your number and your unit. So this is very important while writing, because let's say you have maybe 50 or 60 of this, you would have to modify the space each and everywhere. So we highly advise you to write it in the correct way before in advance. So we have talked about how to structure your chapters and the most important things. Let's move on to the references. So a few important notes about the references. We do understand that you might use an automatic software, but sometimes the automatic softwares just need a little bit modifications. So for example, if you add an automatic referencing list, please make sure just to go through it once or twice to make sure maybe that for the books, the publisher name is maybe capitalized. If you are adding maybe an article, you have the page range, and if you do not have the page range, maybe you only have the article ID followed by the DOI, which is usually a link. And for example, if you are using a thesis or a dissertation, maybe you need to add where you retrieved this thesis from and the date. Also, a very important thing is the electronic references. As you can see here, you need to add the link, but not in a hyperlink way, of course, and also retrieved from. So once you use the software, you might maybe have consistency for about 95%, but just few minor modifications is usually highly recommended after you add your automatic referencing. This is your list of publications. We are still here talking about master students, so we are not expecting any article-based. Article-based is only for PhD. So if you are having few publications out during your master's degree, you can add them here. Of course, please make sure to use the same format that you used here. So for example, if you used APA style here, you also need to use the APA style here, and so on. If you have any patents, you can add this, but as you can see, this page is optional. If you want to remove it, you can remove it. But please make sure when you remove anything, like let's say I don't have any publications and I remove the page. So I'll just remove the extra spaces. So I have removed the page, but I just need to go back and update my table of content so that the list of publication is not showing here. Okay, so I have to just update the field and move the list of publications. So this is basically the core of our template. These are the main, I'm sorry, I might have did not talk about the appendix. It's just a chapter where you can add all the extra information. Here we are a little bit flexible with the formatting. Maybe some bold text is allowed. Maybe if you have an Arabic form that you maybe did for a survey or so on, you can add it. There is a little bit of flexibility in this chapter because it's considered as extra, but also please try to make it as consistent as possible for a better look of your document. And usually this comes at the end of your template. Again, this is optional. If you do not want to add this section, you can remove it. So with this, we have covered the core of our template. What I'm going to do now is just quickly tell you the difference in the other templates that we have before we jump back to our presentation to continue, the process of how to graduate and how to submit your thesis and so on. In the meantime, if you have any questions, please let me know. Okay, Muaz, any questions?
Okay. There's someone who's asking, Fajr, if I find that sometimes my footnotes cover the page numbers in the template, what what should I do to fix it? I think she's Arabic thesis.
Your footnotes, please just try to decrease the font size. Like if you have a very technical question like this, maybe you can ask on private and we will try to figure it out for you. But the general advice I can give is just maybe decrease the font size of the footnotes so that it can maybe be away from the page numbers. This is what I advise. So quickly jumping to the doctorate dissertation template, we have already talked about the masters. I'm not, of course, going to repeat myself, but I'm just going to tell you the differences. This is, of course, the monograph, which is the normal doctorate dissertation template. The only few differences is the department name. We don't have any department names here. Other than that, everything looks exactly the same. If you are a DBA student, you need to write DBA instead, of course, of Doctor of Philosophy. And the word doctorate dissertation will come everywhere. So obviously, we don't recommend a doctorate student to download the master template and maybe keep editing those things, but I'm just pointing them out because if you have the wrong template, you need to take care about that. The word dissertation will come everywhere instead of the word thesis, obviously. And of course, for the approval page, it will say the doctorate dissertation instead of the master thesis. But other than that, for the monograph, we don't have any other differences. It's exactly the same as the master template, exactly the same recommendations. But the only difference here is an extra page called the author contribution. So as a PhD student, we are expecting the student with their supervisor having maybe a little bit of knowledge about their contribution of the students. So you can list them out here, which will just be only for the PhD student, not for the masters. Okay. So I'm going now to jump to the article-based, just a quick tour. In the meantime, please, if you have any questions, you can type it in the chat box. Guys, can you tell me if anyone is doing dual degree so we can maybe talk about it? Or no one is doing dual degree here?
So far, no one is dual degree.
Okay, so I'll just talk about the article base because I think it's also an important template for many of the students. I think my screen is showing here. So in the main pages, you will also not find many differences. You will see the normal cover or the second cover page where the department name is not showing, obviously. You will not see the DBA here because we are not expecting the DBA students maybe to use the article based. I'm just going to jump through the differences. So the first difference, of course, is the list of publication page. So you might wonder why the list of publication page is coming in the beginning, not at the end as the other templates. Well, because you need to add some information about the articles that the reader is going to interact with during their like while looking at your dissertation. So as we mentioned earlier in the presentation, you need to have minimum 3 articles. All the detailed policies are in this hyperlink shown, so you can read it as you want. And of course, you need to list out your publications in Roman numericals. Please make sure also to cite the publications in the same referencing style that you have used in your list of reference or throughout your dissertation. And as you can see here, we highly recommend that you will be the first author with the most contribution, as we have said earlier. The author contribution also is there for any normal PhD student, so you might need to add that always in your dissertation template. All these sections are also similar to our previous templates, so we don't need to discuss that. But maybe we have a look at the list of table of content. So the table of content, as we said, will have a general introduction about your topic, the overview, statement of the problem, research objectives, and the literature, then followed by the general discussion. This chapter is a little bit important. Please make sure that these sections are there in your article-based dissertation. You can add few sections more if you want, but please make sure that you have overview of the main findings of all the articles that you're going to add. You need to have the research design, the data collections, and so on. This is very important for the article based. So please do not just write an introduction followed by the conclusion and then add your articles. This will be returned back to you. As you can see here, most of the sections are exactly the same, but I'm just going to stress on this list of other publications. So list of other publications is not the publication that you will add on your thesis, but the other ones that might maybe tackle a different topic, might be publications that you have done maybe in a conference or a review article, or maybe something that you have done in your master's. Okay, so this is different than the articles that you're going to add in your template. After we finish the appendix, like the other templates, we have the new section called the publication. So this is usually in a bigger font as a chapter cover, followed by the like the numericals here, and then followed by the the article number 1, followed by article number 2, and so on. So of course, if you, let's say, have 4 articles, you can maybe copy that and just add a new page after article 3, and so on. And if you have maybe 5 or 6 articles, you have to do so. So what I'm going to talk about here is the section break. So having an odd section break means that you will have a white empty page after the cover pages, which we really stress on because we recommend the student maybe to have all the articles on the right side of the document. So what I'm going to do now is maybe change it quickly to PDF to show you what I'm exactly talking about, because adding your articles might be a little bit tricky for some of the students. Obviously, adding the articles is usually done in the PDF. So that's why I'm going to talk about it. It's taking a little bit time.
So, Abdurrahman, there's someone who's asking how to insert the articles. Like, is it every article has its own page?
Yeah, this is what I was exactly going to talk about now, but for some reason it's okay. Yeah, I'm sharing the screen now to show you exactly how to do it. Okay. So I think you can see the PDF right now for the article base. Let's say that you have written out your thesis and you have changed it to PDF. So as you can see, you can use any PDF reader. What I highly recommend the Adobe Acrobat. I think you can get access from the university. And you can do this two-page view, right? So you can do this two-page view to just organize your articles. This is, of course, our normal dissertation. This is the references, and this is the publication. So you will see here that the publication is coming on the left, which is something that I mentioned. And to solve this problem, of course, once you add your cover pages here, your publication will come on the right. But just in case, if you want to add any article, you can just right-click and maybe insert page and then a blank page, before or after. So maybe here I'll choose before. And as you can see, if you are reading it as a book format, you will see that all the empty pages are coming before the cover pages for the chapters, which will be consistent throughout. So to answer the question of our colleague, how to add the article, this is just for you to have maybe a guidance. But if you want to add article, you will just delete this page. And obviously you will open your article here as PDF and just combine both articles. So what you can do is usually maybe go here on all tools and combine files, and then add all the open files and then combine them. Once you combine them, you can easily maybe just go to the organize page, zoom out a little bit, and make sure that your article 1 in your thesis is here as article 1, your article 2 is here, and so on. I hope this is not too technical for many of you, but this is what the way that we recommend. We highly recommend not to add your articles in the Word file. Most of your articles will be as PDF. Then you insert them and organize the way I showed you. If you have any problems, feel free to reach out to me or to any of my colleagues. As you can see, we have the software and it's easily manipulated. But if you want, you can send me your articles with the dissertation and I'll organize it for you. But what we talked about in the Word file as maybe the cover pages or article 1, this is just a guidance for you. Once you add your articles, you will delete this page, okay? And I'm stressing that this is done only on PDF. Please don't do it in the Word file, okay? So with this, we would have all the templates covered, and we will go back to our presentation. I hope that it's clear on the screen. Is it, Mouaz?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So now we have talked about all the important formatting notes that we highly recommend you to do while writing your thesis. The next step, of course, is to submit your thesis to your supervisor and defend before it comes, of course, to CGS. So I have few advices for you here. Remember the CGS portal that we talked about earlier? It had a calendar on the top left. So once you click on the calendar, you will see this PDF page, which has all the dates, important dates for the fall semester, for also the summer and the spring. So some of the important dates that we highly recommend the PhD or the master students to follow up is maybe the date to establish their doctorate committee, dissertation committee, or maybe the last day to hold the master defense. So for example, in this fall, the last date is 14th of November. After that date, unfortunately, you will be considered as a spring graduate. So this is very important maybe for the students to check out from now, or maybe if you are graduating maybe next semester, you can check it out earlier from the calendar. And then, of course, you submit your thesis and defense. And once you defend, then it comes to us as CGS. So you need to submit three things to us. First, of course, and most important is the thesis with the cover page. I might have forgotten to talk about the cover page, but it's very simple. I'm going to just point it out here. Once you download the cover page, it will look something like this. For the PhD student, you will not also have a department name, and you will have your thesis title, which should match with the title inside your thesis, your name, and you have to add a photo. If you remember, I talked about the copyright page where you have to add some information about a photo. This is the photo that I was talking about. Unfortunately, we have some students that don't maybe like to have a photo in their cover page, but if you think about it, having no cover page and having a half empty white page doesn't look good for a dissertation of the thesis. So please download this cover page from the portal and have it attached with your thesis. So where do you submit all these documents? To thesis account. So the documents again are the dissertation or the thesis, the checklist that I have showed you earlier in the presentation, and something called the form to release. The form to release is basically a form that tells us that your supervisor has reviewed the thesis and is happy with the final version of it. He also tells us if he wants to delay the publication or not. If you want to delay, you can choose whether it's in the fall or spring, and you can specify the year and the semester. I'm going to give you more details about this delaying of publication in few minutes. So again, quickly, you have to send to thesis@uaeu. Please maybe note the email if you want, and send all these 3 documents. If any of these documents are missing, the thesis with the cover, the checklist, and the form to release from your supervisor, unfortunately, this will be returned for you and we will not be able to start the review process. So what is the review process? The review process is, it might look complex here, but it's quite simple. So once you submit all the documents to the CGS email, which I showed you earlier, you will get an email from the CGS about the assistant in charge that will review your thesis. It might be me, it might be one of your colleagues or my colleagues, and they will notify you about the name and their email. And then you will get the first draft reviewed within 3 working days. Might be 1, might be 2, but maximum 3 working days. And after you get the comments, please work on them and take your time, because some of the students maybe rush through working on the comments, and then it will further delay their process. So take your time, ask questions if you want, email us if you have any questions, maybe have one-on-one meetings or Zoom meetings if you want, and this will really help you to understand all the comments. After working on the comments, you would of course send the second draft, which we hope that it's the final draft, because after maybe following all the templates and the advices that we just gave you, your thesis or dissertation should look acceptable at this stage. Once you send us the second draft and we make sure that it's fine, you will need to send us also some supplementary documents that I will show you. And then your dissertation will go for the dean's office for the final review. So as you can see, this is the first review by the assistant, and then this is the second review by the dean's office. So let's say you have worked on all this, you might get maybe 1 or 2 extra comments at the end, because of course we are all human and maybe something is missed in this part, but usually the comments here are minor. And then your dissertation will be signed off by both the college and the dean of the College of Graduate Studies. And of course, finally, you will get an approval email that says that your thesis has been sent off to the printing office. This is the whole process. I would stop here if you have any questions before we move on. We're about to finish. Any question about the CGS review process, or is it clear for everyone?
As you can raise your hand also if you'd like to speak up using your verbal sound.
Okay, we are going to have like at the end some time for the questions also. So if you want, we can move on. So what are the supplementary documents? So for the PhD student, because they have more supplementary documents to provide, you need to also tell us the number of copies to be printed. So the minimum is 5 for the PhD student, and of course for the master student it would be 4. This would be sent to specific departments. So one copy will be for you, one copy will be for your supervisor, one copy will be for your college, one for the CGS, and one for the library. This is the PhD student. For the master, you will just remove this CGS copy. We don't require a copy for CGS at the master level, so the minimum number will be 4. The second supplementary document is embargo or no embargo. So if you remember here, I talked about the delay of your publication. So if you don't want your thesis to be published after your graduation on the website, you can use the embargo option. For the embargo option, you have 2 forms that you need to fill: the copyright license and the embargo form. If you do not want to have embargo, you can just fill the copyright license for the embargo, for the no embargo, saying that your thesis can be published directly after your publication. This is for the master and the PhD. The extra ones for the PhD will be the doctorate profile. This is a document that our assistant will happily send you so that you can fill. This is usually some details about your future research, goals, and maybe some information about your current research. 6 to 10 PowerPoint slides of your defense, a personal photo, which is optional. So if you don't, you can maybe ignore the personal photo. And finally, the exit surveys, which is some links to evaluate the review process, the university facilities, and so on. So right now, everything is done. You have sent us your supplementary documents. Your thesis is reviewed and signed off by the deans. So it will go to the printing office, which is the step before going to get your certificate. So at the printing office, there are just few things that you need to know. After receiving the final email, you will receive a quotation with the money that you need to pay from Mr. Jihad or anyone of the printing office. Usually this quotation comes very quickly, but if it doesn't, you can contact them and they will send it to you. Then you can make the payment. The payment can be from your own account if you don't have any funds, maybe by a bank transfer. They will send you the bank details. Or maybe you can forward this email to your supervisor and maybe your college or the financial officer at your college so they can make the payment for you. Regarding the payment, I know a lot of people ask about it because it's your right to know if the payment is covered. Please make sure that since we mentioned that there are some specific number of copies, some colleges cover the whole number of copies, some will only cover few. If you add extra copies on the minimum number of copies that we require, you're probably going to pay for it yourself. So just a reminder, for the master it's 4 and for the PhD it's 5, but if you add more, you might pay for it. And the printing will finish maybe in 3 working days, and Mr. Jihad will happily tell you the exact date and time where the copies will be ready. And then you can go to the printing office yourself, collect it and distribute it, as we said before, 1 copy for the student, for the supervisor, for the college, and for the library. And of course, for the PhD, you have an extra copy for the CGS. Let's say that you are outside the country for some reason, or maybe outside a lane, so it's very difficult for you to maybe go. You can assign some services, maybe like Aramix or any courier services that can help you to finish this step. Once you finish this step, you will be at the final stage, which is getting your exit clearance and certificate. So some notes that I want to share with you here is, first of all, you have to apply for the clearance on the exits on the e-service. If you are a PhD student, you might know how to apply because maybe you have done it in your master's. And then you have to make sure that you're cleared from all the department student accounts, pay all your fees, or maybe get the fees that you have on your account. You have to return anything that you might have taken from the library. And then the College of Graduate Studies, you have to submit the copies to us, 2 for the PhD, and of course for the master, just 1 copy for the library. And then the immigration office, and finally the hostel if you are living in the hostel. Once you finalize all these things, which usually takes only maybe 1 day or less, you will receive your certificate either on email, or right now it's usually received on the UAE passport. which is also on the e-services. And if you want your certificate as a printed copies, you can inform the registration department and maybe get the printing copies within 3 working days, the hard copies of your certificate. So with that, I want to maybe thank you all for attending. I know it had a lot of details, so we have a lot of time now, maybe 15 minutes or more, to get all your questions or maybe answer some specific questions about any of the maybe formatting notes that we have talked about, and any, of course, questions about the presentation. I would like also to thank my colleagues who are in the chat box and Muaz for answering all the questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Abdulrahman.
So please, this is a time where you can maybe raise your hands and ask questions on the mic or type in the chat.
Okay, there's Ammar Qasim. Please go ahead.
السلام عليكم.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله.
أقدر أتكلم بالعربي؟
Yes, you can talk about in Arabic. It's okay. Yeah. تفضل.
كيف الحال؟ شكرا أول شيء على الورشة الطيبة. أنا طالب عمار من كلية القانون، طالب دكتوراه حاليا في مرحلة الأطروحة.
Okay.
بالنسبة لنظام البحث أو لتقسيمات البحث، إحنا اللي عندنا فكرة عنه، مش نفس النظام هذا اللي رويتنا في النموذج، اللي هو النظام القديم اللي كان على يعني مقدمة، يعني اللي هو الفصل الأول. أنت شرحت مثلا الفصل الأول في أي رسالة هو يكون عبارة عن أهداف البحث وملخص البحث ومشكلة الدراسة، هذا يعتبر من ضمن فصول الدراسة. بعدين
صحيح.
الفصل الثاني تشرحون الموضوع. الفصل الثالث يكون فيه الدراسات السابقة. احنا لا، التقسيم في القانون مختلف، فهل هذا النظام اللي شرحته أيضا منطبق على كلية القانون؟ انت حتى الفصل
شوف
الخامس يكون ضمن النتائج، يكون الفصل كامل يسمى بالنتائج والتوصيات، يعني الفصل الخامس تقريبا.
صحيح. هو شوف أستاذي، أنت عندك في القانون يمكن أنتوا بتستخدموا المبحث، الفصل والمبحث والمطلب، صحيح؟
نعم نعم صحيح.
اوكي، انت تقدر تمشي على النظام ده عادي، اللي هو فصل مبحث مطلب، بس
نعم.
اهم حاجه في نظام الفورماتنج يكون ماشي على نفس النظام اللي احنا اتكلمنا عنه.
الفورماتنج احنا ماشيين على الاي بي اي في الريفرنس،
اوكي.
والنظام اللي هو نفس التوجيهات، بس احنا دائما يجينا نموذج يوم يجيبونا انه يرجى الالتزام بالنماذج، يجينا ايميلات يطرشون نموذج باللغه العربيه بس بنفس الكلام اللي انت اللي خبرتنا عنه في الورشه.
طيب.
يعني انا ما اعرف كليه القانون ما ينطبق عليها مساله مثلا يكون فصل خاص للفرضيات نفس الكليات الاخرى اللي يكون فيها استبيان، وبعدين نتائج الاستبيان عباره عن، او نتائج الفرضيات اللي تطرح في المقدمه يكون في فصل موحد خاص بالاستبيان، لان احنا ما نستخدم الاستبيانات في ابحاثنا.
صحيح. طيب انا اقول لحضرتك حاجه، ممكن حضرتك تبعت لي ايميل
نعم.
وتشارك بس معايا النموذج الكليه بتبعته، واحنا هنبص عليه ونعدل لو في اي حاجه احنا شايفينها.
موجود، حتى شفت انت المكان اللي فتحت منه النماذج.
اه.
لو تفتح كلية القانون بتحصل النموذج موجود، أنا فتحت من هالمكان وكان نفس الشيء، يعطونا الطالبة سابقة يمكن متخرجة من الكلية، طالبة أسماء معيوف كذا، يعني نموذج سابق.
اوكي. خلاص، انا
يمكن
انا
لو
بشوف الموضوع، بحاول ان شاء الله اكلم الكليه نوفر نموذج ممكن مناسب اكتر لكليه القانون، سبيسيفيك
اي
اكتر،
بالضبط بالضبط،
وان شاء
لأنه احنا
الله
ما
عشان
نستخدم
يساعد الطلاب.
الاستبيانات، ومش نفس النظام هذا، نفس ما خبرتني فصل ومبحث ومطلب، يعني بحوثنا دائما المقدمة هي ما تعتبر أصلا من ضمن فصول الدراسة.
صحيح. يمكن في مشكله،
المقدمة
يمكن في تقصير شويه من الناحيه دي، ان شاء الله هنعالجه ونبعت لكم الموست ابديتد ان شاء الله باذن الله.
بالضبط، لان نبغى نتاكد، لانه دائما توصلنا ايميلات تقريبا بشكل فصلي كل سمستر بهذا النموذج اللي يرسل، لكن احنا ما يعني ما لا تم اخبارنا خلال ماده مناهج البحث عن هذه الطريقه في كتابه الدكتوراه. واصلا نحن طلبه كليه القانون في جميع ابحاث القانون الموجوده ورسائل الدكتوراه على مستوى دوله الامارات، طريقتنا نفس ما قلت، فصول او ابواب، الابواب تقسم الى فصول والفصول تقسم الى مباحث.
خلاص، ابشر ان شاء الله بنشوف الموضوع وبنرسل لكم ايميل في اقرب وقت، يعني اجدد نموذج ان شاء الله ما يكونش فيه اي مشاكل يعني باذن الله، مخصص بس
شك
لخدمه القانون ان شاء الله.
بالضبط. شكرا.
بارك الله فيك، شكرا على السؤال.
سلام.
So this was a question about the College of Law. It was in Arabic. Feel free to ask about any questions specific to your college. That's totally fine. And I would like to also thank him for the question, because it's really important to ask questions that represent your college for their specific problem. Some colleges maybe have need a specific way of writing the thesis. So we'll definitely make sure that all the colleges have their own specific template if needed. So yeah.
Hello.
Yes, hello.
Good morning. I have two questions. The first
Yes.
one is regarding the table and figure. I was asking it a lot in the chat. Is there any specific format or style that I have to follow for the table? Because in the template, there are like different styles of table, like one is in blue or something is gray and without any
Yes.
color. So I'm
Yes.
confused what style to follow. Is there anything specific? Or do I have to follow like APA format, or what should I do?
Actually, the different styles of the table is there to let you know that it's okay to have the color table. It's okay to have maybe for the education, we usually see it without borders. That's totally fine. But the most important thing is try to make it consistent throughout. So if you use any format of the tables, just try to be consistent throughout your chapters.
Okay. My next question is, you said that we can hold our publication, like we don't want our paper to be published from the CGS, let's say for a time being or something like that.
Yes,
So
yes.
you told about like embargo or something.
Yes.
Can you please elaborate that one? Because I didn't understand, you said very quickly.
Yes, sure.
Thank you.
So I think the screen is still showing on my presentation. So basically, once any student graduates, their thesis should automatically go to the university website, specifically the library and the scholar works, which can be readable for anyone in the world. Some students would like to maybe publish from their own work, so to avoid any plagiarism issues or any issues with the journals, they would like to maybe just hide the thesis a little bit or the dissertation for a specific time. This time can be from 6 months up to 2 years, and also after the 2 years it can be extended. So if you would like this option, your supervisor and you of course can choose maybe delay it for until maybe December 31st of the so and so year, let's say 2024 or 2025. So this will make us know that, okay, you want to delay the thesis for 6 months, for 1 year, for 2 years, and so on. That's it. So once you choose this option, we will send you 2 specific forms that you need to fill and sign. And once you send us, your thesis automatically will not come on the website for that specific time. But 1 day after that specific time, your thesis will come out. So if your thesis comes out on the website, you cannot, hide it anymore. So please make sure that if you want, for example, to delay the publication, you choose it from the beginning. And if you want to extend this delay, you inform us before it is out on the website. I hope I answered your question. Thank you for that.
Okay, we have Sabira. Please go ahead.
Assalamu alaikum, Abdulrahman.
Wa alaikum salam, Sabira. How are you?
I'm good, and thank you for this very informative session. Can I ask in particular for the dual degree template? Is there
Yes.
anything in particular I have to look, or is it almost similar to?
Okay, that's I asked about the dual degree, if anyone is there. So it's let's quickly talk about it. I'll just
Yes,
share.
we had replied in the chat. There were like 3 of us, I think.
I'm sorry, I didn't get that, but I'll talk about it quickly. No worries. It's most like
Maybe
in terms of the formatting, that would be mostly the same, but you need to have few extra documents. So we are back in the portal, I hope. Okay. So you will go to the students and then the templates. Dual degree, for everyone who doesn't know, it's like a dual degree between the UAE and several other universities. It started with the chemical engineering. So, for example, the first university that started working with UAE was the KU Leuven from Belgium. So obviously, if you are a student like Sabira in the dual degree, you need to have 2 cover pages. The first one is the KU Leuven specific cover page, and then the UAEU cover page. As you can see, the UAEU cover page is specific to the college because each college has a different color, as we showed earlier in the beginning of the presentation. So I will just show it to you now, how it looks. So I hope it's clear, Sabira. Just when you're working on your thesis, you can choose if you are an article-based or a normal monograph, as I discussed. And then once you fill everything here, you need to just choose both cover pages. So the extra document that you are going to send to CGS is the 2 cover pages instead of 1. You will have to choose this KU Leuven. As you can see, it has the KU Leuven information with the UAEU, and then fill all your information here. And also the, let's say, College of Engineering cover page. It also has both the logos. So we will print copies for KU Leuven and for UAEU. And this is how it will look. That's it. That's the extra thing that you need to know. Other than that, in terms of formatting, if the article based, you will follow the same guidelines. And if it's the normal monograph, you will follow the same guidelines. Thank you for the question. Next one, please. Hello?
Please go ahead. There's 2006. Alaikum salam.
Alaikum salam.
According, Doctor, to the point that you have mentioned to the referencing style or referencing formatting, you have mentioned that it should be an automatic referencing. But unfortunately, what we are facing is during our writing journey, we have a problem with our EndNote. EndNote programs. So sometimes we are offline the linkage between them. So later on it will disappear, it's offline. So there is no linkage between the list of the reference and the internal what we have written there in the text itself.
Yes,
So is
yes.
this will have any problem? So if we make it manually, copy paste, for example, or keep it offline, not link it to the internal reference, what I mean, the text referencing?
Yes, usually, as I mentioned, we will have a specific workshop for the references, but it will
Yes,
cover mostly, yes, please go ahead.
Yeah, I have been, I think, registered to that workshop. Yes, it is.
Yes, so maybe what I can advise you is if you're facing, to be honest, I'm not an expert in EndNote, so I'm not sure if this problem maybe has a solution, but if I'm going to answer from the perspective of Zotero or Mendeley, usually your libraries can be updated once you have maybe any internet connection. So let's say you're having a library and you want to add maybe a paper or a book or whatever, and then you're usually going to add it either offline or online. It will automatically detect that, and then once you maybe insert it in your thesis, it will be there automatically. This is
clear.
maybe the case in Mendeley or EndNote, but sorry, Zotero. But for EndNote, I'm not sure about the answer, to be honest. But what I would recommend you is maybe to
attend the workshop.
yeah, attend the workshop, and hopefully it will
Sure.
also give you another way of looking at it. Yeah.
But the submission should be automatic referencing, right? Yeah, I mean, it should be
we will not reject the submission if it is manual, but it will cause you a lot of trouble because each draft we get, let's say 2 or 3, we will do a random check on the references, usually maybe 20 or 15 references, and if we find any, it will be returned to you. So you will have to add it again, and let's say you're having 150 to 200 references or whatever, that would be too much for you to maybe at a late stage edit it again or re-edit it. So yeah, that's the only issue.
Okay, clear. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, Abdulrahman, for the interrupting. Regarding EndNote, I think we will have a workshop that will be offered from the library soon. So you will be notified by email when the timing for this workshop will be.
That's great. Yeah, that's great. Thank you, Mouaz, for the note.
You are welcome. So please, if anyone has any more question, go ahead.
We still have some time. Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah.
Please note that I believe that CGS is trying to offer this workshop more frequent. So please also inform your colleagues that are going to maybe graduate this semester or the next one to encourage them to attend so they can ask maybe specific questions.
Mouaz Kabi, please go ahead.
When do we apply for the clearance? Is it after the defense and everything is done?
Actually, there is no specific time. Just once you finish your defense, you can maybe apply after finishing the CGS review process, or maybe a little bit before that. It's up to you. But the main thing here is you cannot apply for the certificate without applying for the clearance. That's the important thing.
Okay, thank you for asking, Moza. Dina, can you go ahead, please?
Hello. So thank you so much for this workshop. I have a question. Actually, when I would like to download the template itself, I didn't find the sections that you were talking about, like the publication section and the others. I just found like the normal template with having the chapters. Like I think you talked about having sections between each chapter.
Okay, so you're trying from what I understand, you're trying to work on article-based, but you did not find the articles in the chapters?
So actually, I just would like to have the new template for engineering. So is it whatever you are saying?
No, but I mean, you're a PhD student or a master student?
No, master student.
So can you see my screen on the web browser? This is what you need to use. This is the only template you need to use, the master. When I talked about the chapters and the articles, it's only for the PhD. It's called
Yeah, okay. Thank you very much.
Yeah,
I was
so-
already late, that's why, yeah.
Yeah, that's okay. So master thesis template, this is what you're going to use, and you're going to use the College of Engineering
The other.
front
Okay.
and cover page. Yeah, this is what
Great.
you're going to fill. Yeah.
Are you going to upload the recording somewhere?
Yes, it's going to be uploaded on CGS_UAU YouTube channel, so you can rewatch that.
Can you please put the link in the chat? I will be grateful.
Sure.
Okay,
yeah,
I'll
sure.
be sharing the
Thank you
the
so much. Have a good
channel
day.
website.
Yeah, this is the channel if you want to take a screenshot, and Muaz will share the link.
Okay, there's a Naqbi. Please can you go ahead?
Assalamu alaikum. Can you hear me?
Yes, wa alaikum salam.
First of all, thank you so much for this very good presentation and explanation about how the template, for both. Actually, I'm a PhD student, and I just have a question. You said there's either like article-based or non-article-based. So
Yes.
for article-based, when do I have to complete the 3 articles to be eligible to join this sort of PhD program? And second question, if I'm not doing article-based, do I still have to publish any article to be able to graduate with the other option?
Yes, so you to answer your first question, like from what I understand, you're just asking about the time, like when do you need to have all your articles done?
Yes, this is the first part.
Yeah, maybe just enough time to be able to write your thesis. So you have to, let's say that you are going to graduate next semester in the spring 2024. So you need to have maybe all your articles by this semester, so you can maybe able to write it, finalize it, send it to your supervisor, and so on. So that's the second question. Just enough time to be able to write your thesis. And of course, remember that the third one can be submitted and accepted, not even published. So that's fine. For the second question, to be honest, I'm not sure how many articles that the PhD program requires. So I don't want to give you wrong information, but you might need to check with your college, or maybe send us an email on CGS, and maybe we will try to answer you on that. Like for the normal monograph thesis, how many articles do you need to have? Maybe one or maybe none. To be honest, I'm not sure if it depends on the college or if there is a specific number.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you for your question.
Okay, thank you so much, Naqvi, for your question. I think no more questions for now, and we are running out of time. So before finishing, I would like to thank Abdulrahman for presenting this session. Again, this workshop will be offered again by us. If you don't have any question for now and you would like to attend it again, as my colleague said, you are most welcome to attend, and we'll be more than happy to assist you with the next workshop.
Thank you, Mouaz. Thank you so much for your help, and I'd like to thank everyone for their time. And yeah, see you soon, inshallah.
See you.